Assalamu alaikum, good morning, and welcome to another edition of My Cave Podcast. This is Aaron Wanamaker, your host, joined by...
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Cher, back by popular demand.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Faraz, back from the dead.
Assalamu alaikum, I never left. My name is Atif Yahya.
Assalamu alaikum, my name is Subhan, and unfortunately today I didn't take a shower.
Well, now that I know that it's not you, that's coming with a pleasant smell. It's probably Cher, isn't it? You smell really pleasant today, man.
Thank you,
Always
man.
on top of the
Appreciate
game.
that. Appreciate that.
Out of all the people here, just so you guys let you know, Cher always seems to be the most dressed up. Subhan always comes second,
No,
if not the same.
I can't take that.
But today,
No doubt.
Aaron is dressed nicely too, but as again, Cher trumps him. He's wearing what is that? That's called a cardigan, right?
That's called a cardigan.
Cardigan and a
correct.
tie.
That's what a cardigan is.
Why
I
you
never
dressed
actually
up?
knew.
Oh yeah.
It's like 7, 8 in the morning. Why are you dressed up like this?
Me and Subhan actually have a few tasks to do after the podcast. We have a basketball tournament coming up called Halal Star Weekend. It's on February
Nice.
13th, and we're actually going to be going business to business for sponsorships. But I urge everybody to sign up. It is on Facebook, and I think it's going to be a great event. It's a lot of fun.
Halal Star.
Halal Star
thought
Weekend.
about that.
Event aside, just appreciate the pun and make a donation.
Halal Star.
Hello.
I made the pun in case you didn't.
Was it you that thought about
Yeah.
that?
It was his. Yeah, that was.
Solid out too.
Hey man, there is apparently something called Halalywood, so who am I to judge adding halal to every single English word and make it sound Muslim?
So we got some big news. Atif, do you care to break it?
Oh, today we are releasing our first ever episode onto iTunes. So now you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, along with Pocket Cast, which is an Android app. So just search for My Cave on all three of those, and we'll pop up on your search results.
So we're on
Just-
iTunes now?
Yes, we
All
are.
right, virtual high five.
We have an Android phone, so
When you virtually high five, you don't actually.
yeah.
Well, it helps visualize
It's like
it,
an
right?
air
When
high
you hear
five.
the
It's supposed
noise.
to be silent.
They don't need to. They understand.
Well,
Also, their
They're
ears
educated
popped.
listeners.
They're like virtual high five and didn't see it coming. So we're keeping them on our toes.
it's ASMR, you know? ASMR, right? That's what it's called. It's like virtual sound.
All right, we
Okay,
have our sports analyst back again.
Yes.
Subhan, what's going on?
David Black got fired by the Cavs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a 30-11 record, but apparently he wasn't able to stand up to LeBron James, so that's why they think they fired him.
They're hiring LeBron James as their new coach.
Practically.
Weren't they making a new... aren't they planning on making a new Space Jam movie with LeBron in it? I
Uh,
remember hearing rumors
I
about
always
that.
hear rumors about that, but I
Yeah.
have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't get it. People hate on Space Jam. It was the best thing ever
Yeah,
as a
word.
kid.
The
It's what
Monstars.
got me into basketball when I was a kid. I was like, I want to be like Michael Jordan after I watched
Yet there's
Space
so much
Jam.
hate on it for some reason.
For me, it was the Like Mike movies.
The like,
watch those?
Little Bow Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
But nothing can beat the 3-foot stretch arm of
Oh,
Michael
yeah.
Jordan
Yeah,
at the
no.
end of that movie.
That
I
was
can
like...
Yeah.
believe. And he stretches in the base.
Also, in other news, Kyle Lowry's starting in the All-Star game
Yeah. Do you know why he's starting?
because fans voted him in.
Okay, so there's a popular YouTuber by the name of Unbox Therapy, and so he has purchased, when the iPhone 6s came out, he purchased like a couple hundred. So he's periodically doing giveaways on his Twitter. He's just happens to be a Toronto resident, so he's like, I'm giving away 3 iPhones. Retweet this tweet, and he happened to add Kyle Lowry and All-Star vote. So every retweet counts for an All-Star vote, and he posted 2 of those, and those accumulatively got like 70,000 retweets.
Oh wow!
So it was like a final push on the last day of voting to overtake Kyrie Irving, which is another like popular player. But Kyrie Irving hasn't played that many games in the NBA. Oh no, this season at least. So people just thought Kyle Lowry was more deserving to start just because he's from Toronto and he's also a really great player.
So Lou, that's his name from Unbox Therapy, I remember, right?
Lou?
That's what yeah, he's
Oh yeah,
he
Lou.
unboxed Sport Check at the West Edmonton Mall here. He was technically
here?
the first one in there. Yeah, there's a YouTube video of him. He approached the place and he showed it to us before he even opened it to the public. But really, that's how he did it through the
that's
iPhone
what
giveaways. That's
yeah.
smart, you know.
Clever.
I bet you he wasn't the one paid for the iPhones either. He just got them and he was like the means to get it out there.
Hold on, I'm just gonna rant for like 10 seconds here. I don't think All-Star Game fan voting is good.
Yeah, me either.
Because I think guys like John Scott get into the All-Star Game in the NHL, and this guy is like a journeyman, minor league player.
10 seconds are up.
No,
Okay.
quiet.
on
No.
to
You guys can talk about Pokemon for half an hour. We're talking about this. No, legit.
Hey, I
And
was
then,
not involved
and then
in the
guys like
Pokemon
Kyrie
talk,
Irving
okay?
almost win the All-Star ballot,
Yeah.
even though Kyle Lowry's been playing better than him. So what do you guys think about that?
Does it make you feel better to tell you that I have no clue what the hell I'm doing when it
No, I'm
comes
not
to
talking
sports?
about. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to these two.
I represent a big majority of people,
Okay,
believe it or not.
I'm glad.
So okay,
See, I
for
think-
that majority of people, this is why this is a problem. So fan voting is like every person can put in a vote for who gets into an All-Star game. And there's players like Kyrie Irving who are very well-known players but have been injured, so they haven't played that much this season. And then there are like smaller name players like Kyle Lowry who aren't that well-known but phenomenal players. So then Kyrie Irving was leading in votes for the vast majority of time. And then you have people like Kobe Bryant, who personally, like, it's his last season, he's retiring, so everyone wants to see him play. But he's been playing, he's not at All-Star level at all. But he had 1 million something votes to get in the game. He was the highest voted.
It becomes a popularity contest, right?
Yeah, it becomes a popularity contest instead of a talent contest,
Well,
which is what it's supposed to be.
It's an all-star.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you can also interpret it as it's more of a celebrity thing than you being an
There's
actual
celebrity
player on
games.
this.
Yeah, there's celebrity All-Star games too.
Like just its own thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
So,
moving on from sports.
moving on from, I think, news in general, we have a comment.
Oh, the comment. Okay, so we don't get a lot of
Comments.
feedback from the listeners, and I'm not trying to like jab at the listeners here, but like we know there's a very few that aren't family, and if you are family, you could tell us directly. But we finally got a comment that's not from any family, which is great. Shows some progress in the podcast.
And it's constructive criticism.
Yeah, and it's constructive criticism from a fan of the podcast. And she said, commenting on our episode, I believe it was 7, entitled 3 Liters, where we talk about 3 liters is in reference to how many, like a competitiveness of how many tears you cried between guys, because guys are so competitive, we don't talk about our feelings. And we happen to add that women talk about their feelings all the time. And this comment just said that, well, that's not the case. Women have just as much a problem as men do. And I made sure to tell all of us, as well as the listeners, not viewers. So just as enlightening the people, man.
Blaine, please type more comments. We appreciate those.
Yeah.
They are just like crack for a drug addict. We thrive
Anyway.
on those.
All right.
I'm pretty sure we're going to get a comment about that one.
It's true, though.
So,
It's not true. I don't like crack.
We like comments, though. You can't deny what's true. Moving on.
moving on. So, for our Q&A today, we have a question from CometFire336.
All right.
That is so somebody we know.
I know, yeah.
Such a generic username.
Sounds like it's from the 90s, yes. So, why does everything seem to be haram in Islam? Like, why are there so many restrictions? Like, why is pork haram? Like, what can be so wrong with pork?
I don't misquote me, but isn't everything halal until it's proven haram?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
the way I understood it.
That's the actually there was the fiqh of chilling class that went through last week. Sheikh Saad Taslim was here, and
Shout out.
yeah, and he that's exactly what he said, that everything is considered halal until it's proven otherwise. And so that's kind of like the basic rule of Islam. And the way, I know I'm kind of taking up the airspace here for a moment, but like he like drew this like giant circle, and he's like this is everything that's halal, and then like what's haram, it's like this little like a period, like a little dot.
Wow.
It's like the things that we tend to like magnify that little dot.
Yeah.
And so
But it's not just in haram and halal and everything. We humans, for some reason, tend to look at the negative things or the discouragements of everything. Versus, for example, you have this massive world around you with different countries, different ethnic backgrounds, and you say, well, I'm bored. I don't know where to go. Like, I want to travel, but I'm not sure where I should go. Well, buddy, there's 7 billion people. That's 7 billion characters. If you're a gamer, you can interact with, essentially. That's the biggest game ever. In the sense, people just focus on the little things, right? Like the negative aspects of it. Growing up, to me, it was more like, this is haram. Okay, understood it. But as logic started building in my head as I grew up, it's interesting to see that when things are haram, you may not necessarily know why, but science would later tell you why. Pork being one of them. Now, there is a particular type of tapeworm, is it? Or there's
Yeah.
a particular worm in it. Now they tell you that they get rid of it in the process of slaughtering it and treating it chemically. But essentially, back then when they didn't know about it, that was a big cause of issues. And hence, it was haram. That's just one of the reasons, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Science always catches up later with most things they don't know about it. And it explains it to you. And that's what I find fascinating. It's not just things randomly chosen to be, okay, don't touch those. Stay away from them. There's logic and there's reason behind them, too.
right.
Yeah, there's always a reason for, like, obviously we don't understand why things are haram all the
yeah.
time. But like Firas is saying, they will be uncovered, and you do realize later on in your life that, oh wow, this is actually it's a benefit for me not to have that, or right. So
I think it's easier if you know why things are not permitted, because like especially growing up as a Muslim, like you're told like these are forbidden, don't do this or drink this or eat this or whatever. And like as a kid, I remember feeling a lot of resentment for that. Like, how come I can't have a pepperoni stick or like whatever, right? And it's like once you grow up and you learn like, oh, alcohol like will kill brain cells, like drugs are bad, food,
I find
like
that
pork,
funny.
whatever, right? And like you find that out and you're like, that's really cool. Like just I've been away from this my whole entire life, so like if you're lucky, you won't have a problem with it growing up.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think that's definitely a legitimate question.
Yeah.
I know when I started practicing Islam, the first thing that came to my mind was, wow, there is actually a lot that I can't do. But when you actually start reading the Holy Quran and you start researching into it, you realize that there's actually a lot more things that you can do than you can't do. And that that picture of the big circle and the little circle is a great interpretation of it. You realize that everything has a reason why you can't do it. Also, when you eliminate some of the cultural taboos from your mindset, you also realize you can do a lot more.
Yeah.
It's just that stigma in your head
Exactly.
gets a bit cleared up. Honestly, I saw it as a cheat sheet for me. Even now, that's how I see it as. Like, I game a lot, so a lot of my friends are going to be about gaming, so forgive me about that. But think of it as this. You're starting something new, you don't know what to do, you don't know what's good or bad. And then you go online, search up Wikipedia, and say, oh, don't go to this place, go to this place. That's where you get better score points or whatever. This is the same thing in life. It's telling you, hey, stay away from pork, stay away from alcohol. It's like I'm ahead of the curve in a sense because I know what I should stay away from and not go near.
It's
Like,
like
that's
level
how I
up
see it.
faster.
Exactly.
like your
level
player's
up
guide.
faster. That's the way I've always seen it, honestly. So when they tell me, oh, stay away from that, I'm like, okay, now I know. I just found out something else. That's a new tip. That's the way I see it. And what do you know? That thing could kill you.
I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Sheikh Uthman. I remember in one of his lectures, he said that Islam is actually quite easy. It's like a menu, just like you said. There's a player's guide. It's like a menu, right? There's things that you can have, things that you can't have. But just over the years and cultural things like that, it started to inflate. So it used to be small, now it's big, right?
Right.
So that's why people have that mindset that we can't do a lot of things. But when you look into it, it's a very, very simple menu. And you have your guide, which is the Holy Quran, to clear up anything.
So if you're under the misconception that Islam is too strict for me, so the greatest advice I think all of us can give you is just to go to someone with like Islamic knowledge, like certified Islamic knowledge.
Certified halal.
So like try to stay off.
Be knowledge.
Try to stay off the internet. Personal would be best if you're comfortable with that, and ask, and you'll get answers. And really, that's the best way to strengthen your deen.
Don't ask us though.
Yeah.
Like, don't put that in.
You
the
can
comments.
ask us, but we'll probably give you like a half-witted answer.
Definitely don't use internet. There's places, and I'm glad, I don't know where exactly. You can literally pay a sheikh a fatwa online, and he'll give it to you. Just a one-time use fatwa. So
Can you translate that for people who don't know what those words mean?
so essentially, you can go to
Like me.
a preacher or a scholar about Islam that knows a lot about it online. You know, transfer some cash in there as a donation, and he'll issue you basically a permission to do
guidance.
something that's usually you're not supposed to do because he gave you a reason for it. So you're like, okay, it's a one-time thing, I'll do it. Now that's of course completely absurd. That's not how it works. But the fact that such thing exists on the internet should tell you how much of a scary place it is.
Yeah.
Internet is scary.
And please do not use video games as a reference. You will get wasted.
Yeah.
I will not comment on that due to some legal binding between me and Cher about our previous game. So he gets to say whatever he wants, I guess. That's how it goes. Going to what you were talking about, people have different thoughts of the extreme of Islam, essentially. Some will say, well, to me, I'll just stop at not drinking alcohol and eating pork, and that's about it. Others will tell you, you know what, I'm going to slaughter my own animals, and that's the way I'm going to eat no matter what. What do you think about that, how people interpret it in such extremes of different balance of Islam?
Extremes are always, I think, should be avoided at least a little bit. Just like the best way I can relate it, it's like a lot of people's like political mindset, where it's very hard to be an extreme left like person or extreme right many, like literally 99.99% of people are somewhere in the middle or leaning towards the middle. And I think that's how Islam should be. Sure, you can be a conservative Muslim and you can be a liberal Muslim, but like you're always in the middle. Like avoiding extremes is always best.
Yeah, like I remember one of the things that really like blew my mind in the Quran was in chapter 2. God says, we have made you a middle nation, a balanced nation, and that verse occurs like literally right in the middle of the surah.
That's so sweet.
And so I thought that was really amazing when I learned that. But like, you look at even the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and he always emphasized balance. He said in a hadith, "This religion is easy. No one becomes harsh and strict in the religion without it overwhelming him. So fulfill your duties as best you can and rejoice. Rely upon the efforts of the morning and the evening and a little at night, and you will reach your goal." So, Islam is not meant to be something that's like complex, or like harsh on you, right? It's meant to be something that's, something that you can adapt to anytime, any place, no matter where you are.
Sure. It's a reference, or fine, no more game references.
Yeah.
I was about to use another one. It's like a recipe, essentially, to the perfect pie at the end of your life, essentially. You get to have that pie if you follow the right recipe, the right ingredients in it.
Paradise
There's
pie.
Paradise pie. There
What
you
if
go.
you
Best
don't
pie
like
in the
pie?
whole world,
Is
right
pie
there.
halal?
Is pie halal?
That's
I'll
also
certify it.
Don't use lard.
Can we get a fatwa?
Well, how much money you want to put in? We can get one. It's
yeah.
true.
Oh, but as a direct answer, to someone to give a direct answer to why is pork haram? I think we said it, but I probably got lost in all the mumbo jumbo.
There's a few reasons.
This ain't
It's not
mumbo jumbo.
a
This is
particular
like
one.
real
Let's
talk.
do this.
Okay, yeah.
Let's each see if we can find out a reason.
Sure.
Who wants to go first? Because there is a few reasons. It's not just one reason why.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. It's not. No one wants to be.
I'm actually glad that we're discussing this, because to tell you the truth, I don't actually know a definite answer. I was always told that it was for hygiene purposes, because they're not a very hygienic animal.
That's a big one of them, by the way.
So that's what I was under the impression that was good enough for me.
Though I'll use that as your answer, and I'm
Okay.
going to expand more about it. It's one of the only creatures that thrives in filth and enjoys eating rotten food. There is documentaries of this farmer. It's not about pork or pigs. It's just about a farmer, right? But he goes to the pig section, and he's like, "Oh, just feed them rotten milk, anything. They love that stuff. They eat it all the way. They love eating the rotten food that I give them." And like, there's not many creatures that do that. Yes, you might get some that they'll eat second food of dead animals, like vultures or hyenas. But that's still, in a sense, not rotten food compared to what pig is eating, in a sense.
So are we allowed to eat other animals that eat rotten food?
We're not.
I don't think so.
From my understanding, any animal. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Actually, no, never mind. Sorry, cut that part out.
Blanked.
I blanked out.
Hard out. This is a no edit podcast, my friend. It doesn't work like that. But from my
Just have to leave
understanding,
it in. It's pretty funny.
what is?
Just where you blanked. It's like, yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Silence.
Wait, you did raise his hand. You did raise your hand, right?
Yeah, I did,
Just want to
yeah.
make sure I
Okay,
don't put you on the
so
spot.
anyways, continue.
So from my understanding, if it has claws, in a sense that it's used to hunt other animals, basically. If it has canines, like sharp canines for tearing flesh, it is not permissible to eat.
Is that what it's
that.
called? Is that what you call
Canines,
dogs?
right?
Canines?
Fangs, canines, I suppose.
Those
Potato, potato.
incisors.
Incisors?
No, these are your incisors. The front teeth
The
are
front
your
teeth.
incisors.
Like the beaver has
Canines
two
are-
large incisors. Or incisors.
We need a dentist.
Yeah.
Dentist.
Need to bring. Well, we have a dentist in the building.
Just call them up. We
Yeah.
give,
We
give them a
keep
quick
cutting,
holla. Hey, yeah, so...
We keep cutting Fidos off. Continue.
no, it's
Go ahead.
it's a good way of people not knowing what I'm saying sometimes, right? It makes it a bit more clear to everybody. But that's one of them. It's as a kid, I used to hate eating meat. Shocker, right? I'm really knowing about loving meat right now, but as a kid, I didn't really want to eat meat. So my mom would make this stew, and there's meat in it, and I would hate it. My grandfather would do. He would trick me. He would tell me, "This is lion meat. If you eat this, you'll be powerful." I used to be a sucker and eat it. But now that I think about it, that's actually not permissible.
you like go to
Lion meat.
That's haram.
you don't eat lion meat because it falls when I mentioned earlier that it has claws and has canines, and I guess it eats other flesh. Another one is there are animals like, for example, are they called mountain goats?
Sure.
You know, like there are these goats / amazingly acrobatic sheep, I suppose, that can climb mountains. We have them here in Jasper. They literally climb on the side of the rocks.
mountain
in the
sheep?
mountain.
I just imagine sheep on like a trapeze.
Yeah, that's what I imagine, like sheep in a tutu.
But in essence, sometimes they trip and fall and they die. That's what I'm using as an example. Basically, it's where you came to an animal and it's dead, essentially. It wasn't slaughtered, it just died from impact, for example. You're not permissible to eat that either, essentially, as well. If it died, truly, if it was still suffering, then you can, finish it off, finish him. But
that was a gaming reference.
I'm sorry, I had to.
We thought you changed,
I
but you
had to.
didn't.
You're not permissible to eat that either. But we're going off topic because the topic of what's permissible in eating food and whatnot is so big and beyond me. I don't want to talk too much in a sense where people tell me
Does
that's
anyone
not
have
true.
like an actual credible website that, in case you're not comfortable with going up to someone talking about it, that they could visit? Do you have an actual
What's that book that Usul
or a website would be better?
Usul al-Fiqh is a proper book. I mean, you can search online PDF versions of it. There's a lot of different versions translated too.
I think
Also-
a website that I found particularly helpful was Seeker's Hub.
Seeker's Hub.
Seeker's Hub.
Okay.
That it's actually like an accredited institute.
Great.
wow.
And for me, I would say Yasser Qadi has a whole series about fiqh. You just search up the food portion, and it's pretty extensive. It's like an audiobook, pretty informative, fun to listen to.
Oh, he
All that good
actually
stuff.
recorded it as an audiobook, or
Yeah.
someone read it.
Well, no, he was paid, like you have to pay for it, but someone like uploaded it on YouTube.
Of course, it's kind of a gray area.
Yeah.
I would call that piracy.
I thought he recorded with his
you're
voice.
not being a pirate doing that.
I don't know.
All right.
Consuming it.
So basically, pork is haram
not getting
because of
to that.
all those reasons we went through in the past 5 minutes.
And
I think
you might know
so
another reason.
I think the simplest reason, and this was actually one that Sheikh Zakaria told us when he was doing the converts program here, is he said that when it comes to anything, whether you're talking about whether something's like halal or haram, whether it's something that you have to do, the simplest answer you always start with really is that it's something that God wants from you, right? As for the reasons behind it, we may not know exactly what all the reasons are. Like we can
100%.
we can pull out certain wisdoms, like we were talking about, like the pig being, it's the meat is not healthy, it thrives on filth, so on and so forth. But like at the end of the day, like you can analyze it all you want, but inevitably it all comes down to that one basic reason is that it's something that God has told us either to do or not to do, and God doesn't do things arbitrarily. Right? It's not like God's
Hold
just like,
on. Did Shakespeare quote God?
To do or not to do?
To do or not to do?
no, that's to be or not to be.
I actually thought about
That
it
is
like
the
No way.
Didn't you
Come
just have
on.
diplomas, Atif?
That is not the question.
That is not the
There
question.
you go. Good save.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and so like you can pull out as many wisdoms as you want. At the end of the day, like I was saying, God doesn't do things arbitrarily. There's a reason behind these things, and He wants what's best for us, right?
Yeah.
And so like there's actually a quote. It was I think it was Ali. He said that something to the effect that if our religion was based entirely on logic, then you would wipe the bottom of your socks instead of the top, because the bottom is where all the filth would be, right? But instead, no, it's like when you wipe your socks to for your wudu or whatever, you wipe the tops, and so there's an element in Islam of kind of just trusting
Faith,
God.
acceptance.
It's faith. Yeah.
That's what it is. And that is true in the sense where I try to reason a lot of things. I try to be logical about a lot of things. But honestly, it's because I have faith that I can do it. I appreciate people that have faith stronger than me. And I sort of understand that people that don't have faith, how difficult it is to just let go and accept something that's not there. Faith can mean a lot of things. It doesn't necessarily is faith as in religion, right? Like having faith in somebody where his track record has proven that he's a horrible person, but you still have faith in him somehow. Why do you have faith in him? Logic says he's not, yet you still do. Faith is it's a fickle thing. That's a new word I learned too, by the way. Fickle.
Good word.
Yeah, I
I like
like
that
it.
word.
What does it mean again?
It's like
It's a fickle thing. I used it correctly, but I don't know what it means,
Frail,
so I
right?
got really lucky.
That's
Yeah,
a new word I
it's-
learned, by
it's
the way. What does that
touchy.
mean?
Touchy.
It's
There
like
you go.
very very touching.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, honestly.
He's so proud of himself right now.
There is one book I would recommend. It's a really short book. It's called The Science Miracles of the Quran. basically what it does is it explains a lot of the scientific discoveries from past to present and compares them to verses and explanations of the Quran to show you that they were there. Biggest one that blew my mind for some reason is of iron. There's an actual surah.
Right.
So surahs are basically, they're the chapters. So the Quran has about
114.
114. Thank you for saving right there.
No problem.
So 114 chapters. And that means that each one is special because there's only 114 of them in this massive book. And one of them is called Al-Hadid, which means iron. And towards the end of it, it talks about how we brought down iron from the sky. And that's how scientists believe iron came into Earth. Most of it, essentially. It came as meteorites that was bombarding Earth in the forming process. And that's why it's all below the crust, in essence, essentially. And to me, that blew my mind. I'm like, what? How could you know that before? Like, how iron came from meteorites, you know? Like, it defies logic that you would just think about that back then. Unless you were some kind of once-in-a-lifetime prodigy that would somehow know this stuff.
Well, the other thing with that, too, is that there's so many of these, verses in the Quran that talk about things that we're just learning now. And, for Prophet Muhammad to accurately guess these things, it's
statistically impossible.
Yeah. My favorite miracle was it was describing the human embryo similar to a leech, and it's that's literally almost exact. And I don't know, I remember when hearing that I was like, wow.
For me, it was talking about an atom, right? The smallest part of something. I was like, wow, that wasn't discovered for. I don't even know when that was actually discovered.
That was 100 years or
150-ish
years.
I think the ones that I always really appreciate are the ones that deal with space and the universe, because I've always been so fascinated with the universe, right? And so there's one verse that says, verily we have created the heavens and verily we are expanding it. And it's we're only learning now that the universe actually does expand.
Always expanding.
Yeah. And so that one blew my mind. And then one other one.
Big Bang.
Yeah, the Big Bang is another one. The other one this one actually really blew my mind, was where it says in the Quran that I can't remember the exact verse, but it says the moon and the sun have orbits of their own, right? And I was like, wait, does the sun actually have an orbit? And so I actually looked it up, and surely enough, the sun does have an orbit. It orbits around the Milky Way galaxy. It's maybe only orbited 3 times in the entire lifespan of the universe, but it has its own orbit.
The sun itself has its own orbit. It's not just stationary and orbiting around it.
It's we find all these proven scientific things from the Quran, and nothing has been disproved yet. Or never will be. So that's it's such a faith booster when you're questioning your faith, and you look at all these things and you're like, nah, really, there's no way.
Yeah, it's buddy, what are you talking about?
So we've gone from pork to space. I think we should rest Q&A right there and move on.
Well, kind of tied back into it, we were discussing balance. Balance was our main topic, and I know
I was trying to get your segue there, but you didn't take the hint.
You did. No, you did do the segue.
The
And
segue
I got
break.
it. I thought we were going.
Yeah. We kind of
deviated as usual.
We deviated, but that's all good. So kind of going back to the whole thing of balance, have any of you ever gone through a time where you were super strict in your faith, where it was everything's haram and
I don't think so.
or conversely, what about the other extreme?
Moving here from me. That was a big shake.
Yeah.
So
I think growing up.
Go for it.
Okay, so growing up, when I had no idea what Islam was for myself, and I was just taking whatever anyone was telling me and just absorbing that, and that was my Islam. I think that's my strictest point in being a Muslim, just because everyone has their own flavor, I guess, or adds their own thing to Islam, unintentionally most of the time. But so that happened, and I had all these things okay, this is haram, this is haram, this is haram, and as I learned Islam for myself, I learned okay, first of all, well, that was not true, that's dumb, blah blah blah, and now I think as I learn more and more, about Islam, it's becoming slowly and more allowing of me to do things with you, don't get me wrong, there's still things you can't do, non-negotiable, yeah. But there's as I've learned more, there's gained more leeway of you can do this in these situations, you can do this, blah blah blah. So as I learned more, I think I got a little more less conservative.
No, my example is a bit more milder thanks to my parents' way of thinking. But many of you don't know. Well, you guys know here, but people are listening. I moved to Canada 2009. That's when I moved in here, like summertime. Best time ever. Had I moved in here in winter, would have been back in Dubai instantly, realizing how cold this place can get. But I came from UAE, United Arab Emirates. It's a really small country by the Arabian Peninsula, near Saudi Arabia, near Qatar. But essentially, over there, that's the Middle East. That's where Islam is the predominant law. Now, Sharia is not necessarily applied there, so people be like, oh, that's where it came from. Oh, but no, in a sense, it was more just the same laws here. Only difference was you can't drink in public, and I'm pretty sure that's the same thing here, right?
Yeah, you can't.
You don't drink in public, right? And a lot of it were pretty similar. So for me, I was raised in that. Think of it as like a shielded environment, I guess, from the rest of the world, where everything was same to my way of thought. I never had like a clashing person telling me, "Why aren't you eating bacon? Bacon is amazing." I never had that person because everyone else you talk is agreeing with you.
Thanks, Aaron.
And if you surround yourself with people that think alike, you don't really thrive. You need people that disagree with you to force you to think bigger than what you are right now. That's how I found it. But anyways, so I'm moving in here. My entire knowledge of what I'm going to expect is from movies. That's how I had no clue what I had coming here. So moving here was a complete culture shock in a sense, from the different way people dress, from the food items. Like I would eat... Man, I was such a junk food addict over there. I would eat Burger King every other day. Double Whopper me all over. Oh,
No, you only eat it every second day, right?
every second. It was amazing. Moving here, I'm like, well, I can't have that anymore. There's bacon in there. There's this, there's that. And one of the examples was hamburger. So, hamburger. That's how you say it over there.
This was
Over here,
a big problem for me too as a kid.
there was never beef burger. There was just hamburger. That's what they would call it. So coming here, hamburger means it's made out of ham, for example, or there's ham in it somehow. You have to say beef burger or chicken burger. And the small shops with small barbecues, they would actually use hamburgers for them. Like, for example, there's pork in it or there's something in there, right? Versus, like, if you go to Burger King, hamburgers for them is just a regular burger. There's no ham in it. Mm-hmm. But I had to suffer through that too, realizing that, oh, crap, there's ham in this. I just ate that. And what's interesting is you can't force yourself to throw up, even though you ingested it. No, some of you may think this is extreme, but believe me, a lot of people... If they're in my situation, they just moved from here and they realize they ate pork. It is such a big fear for them. Like, it's okay because you didn't know, obviously. But to them, it's such a big thing, like, I'm impure, that's it. And they forces them to vomit. And you're not supposed to do that either. Just let it go, it happened. If you throw up out of your own will, sure. But you can't force yourself. What is that?
You mean you're not supposed to force yourself? No, you can't. You can force yourself to throw up.
Well, not because you ate pork.
No. But the way we took it, I thought you were like, you can't physically force yourself to throw up. I'm like,
if you ingested some kind of toxic herb and the only way to get it is vomiting, go for it, man. Shove your hand down there. Like, it's okay. I'm not going to question you about that. But, it was just a big culture shock. The way people dress was a big thing in high school. Over there, like, the skirts were shin high at most, and that's like infraction. Go to get a detention or something. What are you doing wearing such a short skirt? And I was like, only to your shins.
What were you doing wearing such a short skirt?
He was confused.
He was like, how do I dress?
I was experimenting.
Beef burger, short skirt, pants. I don't know.
And then moving in here, there's micro skirts. I'm like, what? That's just pants, man. No, this is called a micro skirt. I'm like, yeah, we're all going to hell, basically. There was someone that told me, he was semi-joking, semi-being serious. He's like, and this was weird. It was one of those moments where we were eating together and it was kind of became quiet. There's like an awkward silence. And then he just stared, not even looking at me. He's like, going to university in Ramadan is haram. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, fasting. It's just haram over there, man. We're going to hell. Every day we go there while we're fasting. Just from the fitna that you see. Fitna is basically, what is fitna? Trials, I suppose?
Yeah.
Difficulty.
I suppose, right? And I'm like, you know what? You're right, actually. That is intense compared to back then. And that's my long ramble about extremes, I suppose.
Awesome. So I don't think I've actually faced like extremism in my faith where I've been super strict, but I'm glad we brought this up because one thing that I faced, and I think a lot of people faced as well, is setting unrealistic expectations for yourself. So when I first started practicing Islam, it was difficult to pray 5 times a day like it is for most people. But then when I would miss one, the immense amount of guilt, and I should feel guilt, but the immense amount of guilt that I felt would actually set me back. And I would overwhelm myself thinking, okay, so today I have to pray 5 times a day, then I have to read Quran, then I have to memorize Hadith, then I have to learn this and I have to learn that. But that was actually quite damaging to myself because when I didn't do one thing, I felt really bad. And then the next day I would actually do less and less and less, right? So for anybody who's kind of starting to practice out Islam and things like that, you know, do it with balance. Like we said, it is a religion of moderation.
It could be intimidating,
It is intimidating. Don't overwhelm yourself. It'll come by habit as long as you're consistent. So I say stay consistent. Don't put so much on yourself.
Yeah, and stay consistent with like the basics first, right?
Exactly.
Like it's easy to overwhelm yourself with like, oh, I gotta like read this dua in the morning, and then like I have to, you know, read these duas at night, and then I have to do all these like extra sunnah prayers, and like if I miss them, then like I'm less of a Muslim because I'm not doing all these extra things. And I kind of went through a little phase like that too, where it's like I kind of tried to like
do everything.
I would try and do everything, and then like the thing is that when you try and do so much, especially if it like becomes a habit, and then you realize that it's not realistic to maintain, and you start doing less, and then you feel that you're actually like less of a Muslim now because you're doing less, and that can be kind of tough.
Now I have a question for you, Aaron. Like, how did you kind of overcome that? Like when you realize that, okay, this might be a little bit too much. Did you kind of write down the goals that you wanted to do for the day?
To add to his question, when did you realize this is too much for me? Like, what set it off?
It wasn't. I think it was just like a gradual. Like it was as I started learning more about Islam, and like it kind of comes back to that thing of balance, right?
Right.
Where it's like you realize there's a lot of ease and leeway in Islam, and so trying to do too much, and I think realizing that it just wasn't realistic with other goals that I wanted to achieve. So like, for example, actually, one thing I used to do is like I would always try and read like Quran 15 minutes a day, and I'd try and do it like, you know, in the morning particularly. Like I would always try and do it in the morning, but that was tough because I wanted to do writing in the morning, right? And so like, I only have like a certain amount of time in the morning before I have to go off to work. So what I kind of compromised instead is that, you know, I would do my writing in the morning, and then like while I'm on the bus, I'll read Quran on the bus on my phone or whatever, because it's, you know, it's 20-minute bus ride there, so just pull up the app on my phone. And so like it's kind of a matter of like working around, I don't want to say compromising,
right,
but like
making it work.
Finding that balance.
That's
finding a balance.
Finding that balance.
The way it is. And you brought a sweet note here to people that may not realize this, but particularly in Edmonton, thanks to our horrendous transit system, where a place that's 10 minutes away takes you an hour to get there if you take the bus, it gives a lot of time to read, for example. Now, some of you that get motion sickness from reading, I feel for you, but sucks for you. For me, for example,
I feel for you, but it sucks for you.
For me, like Aaron said, every Friday it's sunnah to read Surah Al-Kahf. It protects you from the week's end to the next Friday, right? Yeah. So what I do is, same thing. I wake up in the morning. Often I don't have enough time. What I end up doing is on the bus, from the way to university, from the way back, I end up reading it, and I can almost every time finish reading it, unless someone creepy or something engages me next to me in the bus, essentially.
Which happens quite often.
He sits next to you, he's like, are you reading Quran? He's reading Quran, everyone.
Oh my God!
Look, I have to go.
No, it's actually really, where I am, it's really conservative in a sense. People don't mind their own business, you know, they don't really bother you much. Then again, I'm not wearing a hijab and, you know, saying I'm a Muslim here, you know, like, so it's a different discussion for a different day.
Just the skirt.
Just the micro skirt.
Just a skirt and a ridiculous hat.
Scarf. I didn't say skirt. Did I?
You
Oh,
just
wow.
said skirt.
Horrible person I am.
That was a slip.
Now I know my secret. I can't let you live anymore.
Oh boy.
Going back to what Aaron said, there's always tricks of doing things in such a way where, like you said, in the bus you can read. What about prayer? How did that work?
How did you?
Because you work, right? Obviously. How did you fit that in there and try to explain to people that would bump into you doing it?
Well, I think like the thing with me is that my situation was a bit different in the sense that when I became Muslim and I was working with a Muslim and he was the manager, so if it was time to pray, he'd be like, "Oh, I gotta go pray," and he's like, "Okay, you go, I'll go after you."
Oh,
so
okay.
in a sense, I was, you know, thankfully I've actually been very fortunate with my workplace. Wherever I've worked, there's always been like leeway. I've always been able to find time to pray at work. So
Have any of you guys experienced like troubles?
yeah, at work.
I think we've all had at some point.
I think it wasn't really hard for me. Like I've only worked like retail jobs,
Same.
right? So for me, it was kind of like we always had storage areas. So just like I just gotta go to the storage area. Just gotta go pray. at first, like, saying gotta go pray was like the weirdest thing to say.
But say it.
Yeah.
Don't say I'm gonna go to the washroom,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they find you standing in the corner
Yeah.
doing nothing. Say you're gonna pray.
Another point is, like, once you get over that first time of asking, and it's always awkward your first time of asking if you can go pray, it'll get easier and easier. Just because, like, everyone will get more accustomed. And, like, you got to think, like, anything, like, if someone sees you pray and asks you what's going on, and you can, like, enlighten someone about Islam, like, those little side things that can happen from you praying in a public area or whatever, that's so much blessings for you.
Well, actually, tying it back, this one, with me, it was my family, actually, because my family isn't Muslim. And so if I was at, like, a family gathering, or if I was even with friends, it was awkward for me to be like, hey, got a room or a closet I can use for a little while?
Just imagine,
right?
got a closet.
I for the longest time, my cousin had an apartment, and he had, like, a giant walk-in closet, so I'd be like, I gotta go use your closet. And he's like, okay. So, like, and he knew I was praying.
People that don't know are like, what the hell is he doing? What's in the closet?
Gives coming out the closet a whole new meaning. That's good.
Yeah, so, like, that was sort of the challenge for me, was my family, was, like, getting them used to the fact that I have to pray, and then, like, of course they would walk in on me praying and stuff like that, and it's like, it's gonna happen sooner or later.
So the funniest thing that's ever happened to me was during one day or fireworks for Canada Day. Like, I was with, like, two other brothers, and we were all like, we're gonna go watch the fireworks together. And one of them missed the prayer beforehand, so he was just catching up on it, and he was praying, and we put, like, bags in front of him and whatever so people could walk. And so he was praying, and he goes into, like, what is it called? Ruku, right? So, like,
prostration.
Yeah. So he does
So
that.
you're just standing and holding your knees, I suppose.
Oh, no,
You,
just
like,
bowing.
Be familiar to
like,
people.
the bow.
Bowing, yeah.
So,
not.
yeah. So, and then one guy comes up to him and starts, like, looking at the ground because he thought he lost something in the grass. And, like, it was so funny. Like, we eventually got that guy. We, like, explained to him, like, what happened. What is happening? But, like, before that, me and my cousin, we were dying. We were, like, literally sitting there, like, laughing so hard. We were gonna go up, but, like, it was literally 2 minutes of just laughing. So, like, but after, like, 5 seconds, he kind of, like, started backing off. So, like,
He's like, I don't think he's looking for something.
yeah. So, like, we were laughing, and, like, we wanted to go up and, like, say something, but, like, you can't just laugh and not be able to say any words and, like, move someone.
Yeah,
That was the funniest thing that's ever happened to me. And it's happened to a lot of people, actually. I've heard of this happening to, like, 5 other people.
We had one time we were at Churchill Square. It was me and a couple other brothers, and we were praying. It's nighttime at Churchill Square, and so, like, we're praying, and one guy comes up, he's like, want to buy some drugs? We just stood there, and it's like awkwardly waiting, and, like, we're praying everything. And it's just like, he just stood there for a bit, and then he kind of just figured we weren't interested and walked away.
That's funny.
I think in total, when you talk about living life in, like, moderation, Islam being moderation, being a Canadian Muslim is all about moderation. Because, like, there's being a Canadian and, like, all this, and that's on the left, and Islam kind of brings you a little bit more to the right, and then you land, like, straight up. Like, for myself, I'm, like, in the middle of the left and middle.
Well, I've been trying to say this for the last 10 minutes, but I haven't had a chance to say anything. That's okay, and this is great. But, so, talking about extremism, during Ramadan, everyone sort of, like, amps up their, like, worship and, like, how much Quran they read and everything, right? And so you're, like, boom, like, all the way at the top of the summit.
Absolutely.
But then, during the year, you sort of come back down into somewhere in the middle, right? So, isn't that kind of what Atif was saying, like, how... like, you're reading a lot of Quran and you're, like, praying a lot and you're doing all these, like, good deeds and finding because, like, during Ramadan you can sort of isolate that and kind of focus on that, right? And then during the year it's like, okay, I've got these tools, how do I fit them into my daily life?
Good. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I did want to end off on a new segment of our podcast. It's what we call the top 5 whatever. So every week we're going to do a top 5 of whatever a certain topic is.
Top 5.
So this week it's our top 5 cartoons from our childhood.
Oh, is that what we're doing this week? I thought we were doing, like, top 5 places you want to visit. Top 5.
Oh, no. He
foods.
put it on the WhatsApp.
Top 5
Yeah.
cartoons.
I gave you fair notice.
I already know Firas's and Cher's.
I told you, that's
Yeah.
why. That's not fair.
You want me to?
I didn't say it.
You didn't? I thought you did.
No, go ahead though.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Say your own.
I don't want
Don't
to put
say
my
your
foot in my
other
mouth. Yeah, go
person's.
ahead.
No, I'll go last.
Everyone gets 5.
Okay,
so
okay.
Go.
Well, I called second last. Just letting you know.
Go on, Biff.
Mine was either SpongeBob or Hey Arnold.
That was your top one.
There's 4 more.
Hey 5?
Yeah,
Okay,
everyone-
SpongeBob, Hey Arnold, Ren and Stimpy, Cat Dog. What was my last one?
What was it about?
Ren and Stimpy, man.
That was a good one.
That was such a good
Courage the Cowardly Dog was probably up there too.
Oh
I
yeah.
think just most Cartoon Network cartoons were
It was
the
like
best.
older cartoons, yeah. But
Okay. I don't really remember a lot of cartoons, but I watched a ton. So I'd have to say Recess.
Yeah, that was good.
Hey Arnold, definitely, because that was before your time. But I'm glad you still watched it. I like Reboot.
Oh yeah.
oh,
No, it was weird, but I liked it because it was weird.
the animation was so weird.
Yeah.
Well, like looking back on it today, definitely, it's like very.
Let's see, what else did I like?
Nothing about sports. Slam Dunk. You never watched that as a kid?
No. I
Mighty
don't
Ducks
even-
cartoon.
Oh, that was really good.
Yeah.
That was really, really
What
good.
was-
The
Yeah,
Mighty
that
Ducks
was a very
cartoon.
good cartoon.
Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
And they used to like fight the bad guys by shooting pucks at them. I remember that.
Hockey, man. Was it Canadian?
It's like the
No.
Canadian Army.
Stop!
Line 'em
I'll
up,
shoot
boys.
you.
Yeah.
My puck is ready.
And the fifth one, I don't know.
We got back to, I suppose.
Yeah,
Think
go
about it.
ahead,
I do want to hear it.
You
Don't
got
just try
2
to.
more.
2 more?
Yeah.
2 more.
You
No,
got
I
fourth,
said-
4th and 5.
No, I said Hey Arnold,
Recess.
Reboot, The Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks
Okay,
was
one
him
more.
telling you.
Yeah,
like,
but
uh,
no, no.
Sometimes you
I
just
really
gotta-
liked
Okay,
it. I really
just forgot
did.
about it.
All right, Aaron, go ahead.
My top 5 were probably Sticking Around.
Oh yeah.
Never
Yeah.
heard of it.
That
The one that's like, hey Bradley, that one.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, Scradley.
Yeah. No, man, I like Stinky Guy.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to take off Courage the Cowardly Dog and put on Arthur.
Oh, Arthur was
Arthur.
legit.
It's all first on my list.
Was it called Stick and Ridley?
Stick-
I'm pretty sure I've seen this cartoon. I just want to make sure it's what I think it is.
Sticking around.
Sticking around.
Ridley.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. So Sticking Around, Rugrats.
Oh, Rugrats
Oh,
is
yeah,
legit.
totally.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And then Animaniacs.
Animaniacs
I
is
really
really
liked
good.
Animaniacs. That was like my morning cartoon. Sam and Max, Freelance Police. I don't think anyone has seen that one because it
No.
was like a very, very short-lived cartoon, but it was actually based on a game, which was based on a comic book.
Oh, wow.
And the
It's
comic
like
book is actually
Aaron's
like
3 favorite things.
yeah, but it's like I read the comic book. The comic book is like surprisingly dark. Like it was meant for people like our age. And when they made it a cartoon, they actually stayed like surprisingly true to the comic. So it was like, it wasn't really like it was a kids cartoon, but there's a lot of things that would go over the heads of kids.
Oh, animated. They're such
And-
trolls, man. I
Okay,
remember
good.
that cartoon.
And number one, because I was a product, because I was a child of the times, it was Pokemon.
Oh, yeah.
It had to be Pokemon.
Fair enough.
Of course. How did I not see that coming?
Yeah,
I
really.
should have seen that coming.
I still watch Pokemon on Netflix.
At
See,
least
I watch it every now and then, or like I would tune into an episode and it's like, this is the exact same show I watched like 10 years ago. Nothing has changed.
What progress have I
Team
made?
Rocket is still trying to catch Pikachu.
Still
and
on
Ash
air?
still doesn't know that they're Team Rocket
Wait,
in their
what?
disguise.
Pokemon is still on air.
Oh yeah.
There's still new seasons happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
What?
a new- if
Share.
there's a new game, there's new seasons. Sorry, Cher. Carry
That's
on.
okay. So, in order, number 5 is Care Bears, because
Care Bears
yeah.
is
it has
so
to be.
good. Yeah.
Number 4, Johnny Bravo.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one I was going to
Mama.
say.
Number 3, Dexter's Laboratory.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Number 2, Recess.
Oh.
The Swamps. Number 1, Arthur.
Yeah.
Arthur is so good.
I
That's probably
hated
my
DW. DW was like the
Word.
bane.
Does anybody know what DW stands for?
Dora Winfrey.
Yes!
Yes!
Of course. Is that surprise knowledge?
I know.
Some
How is
people
that
don't
surprise
know,
knowledge?
man.
That's
I thought that's
awful.
like basic life skills to know
Fake
that.
fan.
Basic life skills. Job application. I know what DW stands for. Ask me
You're
in an
hired.
interview. Wink.
ahead.
My top 5. Number 5 would be SpongeBob. I love SpongeBob, and what's funny about it is the more you grow up, the more different humor you understand from it as a
Yeah.
kid. There's a lot of weird references in there that you don't understand as a kid. Number 4 would be Dexter's Laboratory. I gotta admit, I love that show. I could relate to it because I grew up with a little sister too. In his case, she's his little sister.
She's
right?
his older sister.
Is she?
Yeah.
What sisters? Just that sister
Dee Dee?
rivalry.
Yeah,
Dee Dee.
Of how she ruins his life essentially. That's the kind of childhood I grew up with. I'm pretty sure every sibling has that. And number 3 would be Cow and Chicken. Many will not understand that show, but that show was bizarre. And as a kid, I loved it. Keep in mind, this is kids' mind here, right? I don't know what's going on. I just loved watching it. I would always look forward to watching that particular show.
See, the only part I liked about Cow and Chicken was the I Am Weasel segment.
I am Weasel.
Where it's like, I are a baboon. Yeah. That was the only part I didn't actually like Cow and Chicken.
It's
I
a
liked
group
the,
thing, I
Wait,
suppose,
speaking
right?
of segments, you know my least favorite segment of Arthur was? And now a word from us kids. I hate that so much. I don't care what you did at school.
It was a nice relief.
No, it wasn't at all.
I watched Arthur.
I'm so angry.
I feel different because I watched Arthur in Arabic. A lot of the cartoons I watched was in Arabic. So I bet a lot of episodes had
We
different
need to
meaning
watch
for
an
me.
episode of Arthur. in
How do you say
Arabic.
aardvark in Arabic?
What?
Aardvark. That's what Arthur is. Aardvark.
That's the
How
animal.
do you say it in Arabic?
No,
How do you say
is it?
Yeah, that's
it's
the
an
animal.
aardvark.
How do you
What do
say
you
it?
call Arthur?
I don't know what it is actually.
But I was like, I always thought he was like a cat or a hamster.
I thought it was a bear.
No, I'm saying Firas.
I thought it was a
okay.
bear.
What?
No, definitely
He
an
has like
aardvark.
ears and...
No.
How do you say Mr. Ratburn?
He was just a rat, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember, man. This is
How do you
a
say
while back.
rat and burn?
Putting him on the
Put it
spot.
together.
It's such a weird phrase if I say it. Rat and burn.
Yeah.
Far yashtal.
Yes, that.
It means
Okay,
something burning.
Okay, great.
How do you say burn in
So-
Urdu?
so-
Garam is hot.
Number 2. This is old.
Agun?
Older than all of
That's
us. But till today, if I start watching it, I will binge watch it till morning. I love that show.
What show?
Tom and Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
To me,
okay.
that was
that's a
my
classic.
childhood. I actually have a scar because of that show.
Oh, I
It's
thought
a
you said tattoo.
I have a removable tattoo.
I have 2 scars because of that show, and I'll tell the story maybe later. But yeah, it was a bad day for me. And number 1, and I already told you this.
Yeah.
This cartoon was beyond its time, in essence. And I'm glad it's getting a... I'm not sure if it's a reboot or a sequel. It's Samurai Jack. For me, that was the best cartoon ever. If you don't know what that is, you're missing out. This thing is just as good as Avatar, the Airbender cartoon series by Nickelodeon, not by the movie.
I
of
should put that on my
Shyamalan.
top 5.
Samurai Jack is so good. As a kid, you just love the action. As a grown-up, it has such grown-up elements and such mature elements of this patient samurai trying to fight his way back to save his village, that the evil spirits send him time to the future where he rules now. It's such a complex show. That's why I love it. Till today, I'm glad it's getting a
Wait,
reboot.
one last thing I'm gonna say is, remember how last week we were hating on Noah for being so like direct to the mic?
Ego?
Firas is just like,
No, but this is great. I
but
can hear him crystal
I told
clear.
you this before. You got to project your voice to the
yeah,
microphone.
but you're like talking to the mic like it's
That's
a
great.
person.
I'm
That's
not
great.
talking
They're getting
to
an
you
earful of
because
Firas.
you can hear me.
So that's the dream.
You can't hear me. What'd you say?
I said they're getting an earful of Firas. That's the dream.
though?
But Aaron, if you'd like to wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thanks everyone for listening again. Hope you downloaded this on iTunes because that's a big step for us.
If you did, you can now leave reviews. Please rate us 5 stars.
Yes.
I just want to make my mom proud.
Just want to let her know I'm actually doing something
Yeah.
good. I'm not wasting my time.
Anyways,
So yeah, thanks again everyone. Assalamu alaikum, and this is Aaron signing out.
Share.
This is for us going back to the dead.
this is Atif.
And Subhan.
It's like...